Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new video and thank you so much for being here with me. Today we are working on planting some spring bulbs and it is the winter time. I am going to bust a myth, I guess, that spring bulbs can only be planted in the fall and you have to be done like before Thanksgiving. That is not true. As long as your ground is not frozen, you can plant bulbs in the ground. However, if your ground is frozen, you can still plant bulbs in the winter by doing that in containers. So that is precisely what I am doing here, and a really good reason to wait till later in the winter is because you can find bulbs for really cheap at like hardware stores or the big box stores or even online. I picked up some super cheap tulip bulbs at a local nursery I really like to go to. So what I am doing here is just using some old plant containers and planting the bulbs directly in there. But I will say, don't make this mistake that I did. Check those bulbs before you buy them, because as you're about to see, I had a few that were moldy and no good. I couldn't use them, so I was super bummed about that. Oh no. Did I buy moldy bulbs? Or is that just one? Oh, fuck. Am I dumb? I guess that's what I mean for being a dumbass. I guess I'm gonna roll with it. We've come too far. I initially had 3 containers ready to go, but I was only able to fill up 2 of them. And so what I am going to do with these is place them in my larger outside containers that I have in my landscape. So here are where my outdoor containers are. I call this little area my goth container garden because all the containers are black. So I actually did this like right before Christmas. So we hadn't had like a really hard frost yet. It was only like maybe 2 weeks later that we got one. I still had all my leftover annual dead plants in there, so I am cleaning out my containers. One plant left just the most massive root system behind. I do not know which one it was. What is this? Holy shit. If anybody knows what these root systems would be from, my impatience maybe? They are intense. Holy mackerel. I have no idea what would have taken over like that. And it's gotta be like one thing. Boop, 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 boop. Hell yeah. That's literally perfect. So last year I planted spring bulbs in these containers and some of them grew and some of them didn't. So what I noticed is that the ones that were in the middle of the containers grew fine, whereas the ones around the perimeter did not end up doing as well. And I think that is due to insulation, hence why I planted the bulbs in the plastic containers first this year. So that will give them nice extra insulation. And depending on where you live, you can still do this. Like I said, if there already was a hard freeze, I would say through the month of January, maybe a hair into February, you could get away with it as well. Spring bulbs need that cold period of a certain amount of weeks before they are able to bloom at full growth and full capacity. And since my little planter bucket did not fill the entirety of this larger container, what I'm thinking is I will plant some pansies around in this perimeter in the spring, and then just for more insulation after they were placed, I just put like compost, leftover used crummy soil around there just for extra insulation to make sure they're all tucked in nice. And then moving indoors, I also picked up some super marked down paper whites. So we are gonna go ahead and plant those up in a little container, super quick and easy. And then I'm also going to attempt to start some seeds. I always keep any like takeout container that's plastic with a clear lid to use for seed starting. They work really well. And I am planting some coleus since my coleus plants are really struggling. I only have like 1 of 4 left. I don't know what's going on, but I'm really sad about it. So here we are, we're gonna try to grow some new coleus to keep as a house plant and then transfer outside once it's warm enough. These seeds are super tiny, so I just kind of did my best to spread them around, and they don't really need to be heavily covered. And then we are going to poke some holes in the top of this lid to make sure we get some airflow in there. And then I gave them a nice mist and put them on my kitchen table that receives a good amount of sunlight. And then I also got these Narcissus Ice Follies at the same time. When I picked these up, I did make a point to check them really well to make sure there was none that were moldy or damaged. So I am just going ahead and placing those in a decorative container I had, planting them just like I did the other ones. And since this one, like the tulips, need the outside cold temperatures before they bloom, I did just go and put this container in my garage. That is something else you can do if you don't have like outside decorative containers. You know, December, January, like I said, February is pushing it, but you still might be able to get away with it. You can plant spring bulbs in containers and just store them in your garage so they still get chilled. And then since I was already planting those bulbs and doing the plant things, I decided I needed to give my little house plants a nice water. So I grabbed my little soil stick and checked the moisture levels in all of my plants. You guys, I can't believe I lived so long without one of these. This thing is so helpful since I was definitely an overwaterer before, so game changer. And then I just went ahead and gave any plant that was drying out a nice little water. And then I have a parlor palm under this table that needed a little cleanup. It had some dead leaves and parts on there, so I just snipped those off and then gave it a good water as well since it was getting a little crispy. And then moving over to the living room, we planted these paper whites and amaryllis bulbs up a couple weeks ago. If you guys were with me for that, they have come so far. The paper whites are just starting to bloom and the amaryllis has 2 buds on it. I am so excited. Those were all dried out, so I gave them a little bit of a water as well. And then the last thing I always do is give everything a nice mist. And I also did refill my humidity tray as well. Neener, what you doing? Staring at that chair? So hopefully I was able to give you guys some good ideas and bulb information. Like I said,
Sorry, me.
pick bulbs up super cheap after fall, plant them in the winter in containers, or if your ground is not frozen, so you don't have to miss out on spring bulbs or spend a bunch of money on them. I can't wait to see everything start popping up in the early spring. I am so excited. If you enjoy gardening content, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. Right now, there's not a lot going on, but I have so much planned for spring, and I can't wait to share all of the hard work that I have put in that is going to pay off this spring. So I would love for you guys to come with me. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.